breaking barriers, and I'm always excited about my guests, but this one is a little bit special because not only is she brilliant in her field, but she's also, I feel so proud to say, a really good friend and someone I've got to know over the last couple of years through being in a mastermind together, a business mastermind, and now we speak at least once a week, which is so good. Nicole Osborne, and I'm gonna give you the proper intro so people can be as wowed by you as I am, and then we'll get into the chat. So Nicole, a chartered marketer based in London, in her past life was working on crafting marketing strategies for top brands, and I was very impressed with this, like the Financial Times, the Institute of Directors, and as well as other companies, but a cool one, Power Shifters, which was one of the top 5 digital product agencies in Canada. And she worked her way up to director level at quite a young age, I have to say. You still don't look old enough to be a director.
Thank you.
But in 2017, she founded her consultancy, Wunderstars, and I love the whole brand behind that, and we're going to hear a little bit about that too. And in that, you do one-to-one coaching, personal brand consultancy. And one of the big reasons I've got her here, as well as to talk about her leadership journey, is she's a LinkedIn pro. And I thought we're going to get a double whammy of value from this session, not only hearing your story and how you stepped up to leadership, but also, you know, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool for us all, and especially for leaders. But before we get into that, there's even more. Nicole is an amazing speaker and has spoken at some mega events. In fact, she's off to Mexico soon to do a big event, like BrightonSEO. She was on Chris Do, who is very like the agency royalty. She was on his podcast, and we're here to witness the boundless energy, the amazing fun, and the tons of expertise that Nicole brings. I'm sure brought into your more corporate career, and you definitely bring into your work with the agencies today to help them shine and stand out as the stars they are on LinkedIn, and can't wait to help the people watching and listening to shine as the stars they are on LinkedIn, so they can progress and get all of the benefits that come with that. So welcome, Nicole.
Oh, Sinead, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. You know, I have been watching your show for a little while, and you have always such amazing women on, and you share their stories in such a powerful way. So thank you very much. And just right back at you, you know, I see you as a friend, I see you as my mentor, and thank you so much. So, wow, we've got a lot to cover today, right?
Yeah. So we'll start where we always start, with your story. Like, what got you to where you are today?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I was born in former Eastern Germany, and when the wall came down in 1989, I was 13 years old. And I tell you what, it was such an exciting time. Suddenly we could travel anywhere. We could buy anything we ever wanted in the stores. But actually for my family, and for many families in that country, it also meant both of my parents lost their jobs. And it was terrible because, you know, suddenly they had to make ends meet. But both of my parents were really quite entrepreneurial. So they set up their own businesses. And as part of that, suddenly I had a new Saturday job. They went on to sell their goods on market stalls. And we were in a small town in the north of Germany, and they put me in charge of the sunglasses section. Now, I know nowadays I come across as pretty extrovert and all of these things, but I was a dorky teenager. You know, I was so tall and I was really, really shy. But I knew if I wanted to make this a success, I had to learn how to build a rapport with people. So essentially, I had this 1 meter long stand, and I had all these different sunglasses, and I had to get people to my stand because there were lots of competition about. I had to build a rapport with them. and I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to show them which pair of glasses would suit them really well. And something really magical happened, Sinead. I figured out really quickly, if I could just step across my own fears and just deal with them and just build that rapport, see them as people, sell them the right pair of glasses, they would walk away with this sort of really happily, and they would send all their family back. And frankly, I would make a little bit more money because my parents paid me commission. So really early on, I sort of thought, wow, this is what happens when you sort of tackle your nerves. And nowadays, as you said, rightly so, I work with agency owners, particularly marketing agency owners, because they know marketing and they deliver the most amazing campaigns to their clients. But often they really struggle to promote themselves. And it reminds me a little bit like that they have to learn how to build a rapport, how to be comfortable with standing out in what's particularly a very competitive marketplace. And often this means raising their visibility and stepping out of sort of being the world's best kept secret. A little bit what I was trying to do when I was selling sunglasses. And yes, because I was a marketing director myself, as you said, I actually made it to marketing director within 15 years. And it surprises me because I always wanted to be a marketing director. I don't know why. I think it's because no one else in my family went to university and had a corporate career. But when I was a marketing director, I often was commissioning agencies, or when I was more junior, I was the one who put together all the shortlists. So I can see from a sort of client side what people are looking out for when they want to put someone on the shortlist. And again, if you are promoting yourself, whether that's in a leadership position, maybe you are a female a board member and you want to push for that next chairman role, or you are an agency owner, you've got to learn how to be comfortable with being visible and also connecting with the right people. So yes, this is what I do. And as you said, I don't want to be boring because people don't like necessarily learning about LinkedIn. So I like to make it fun, because when we have fun, we have a laugh, we're more honest, and we're more willing to tackle our fears. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, and I love picturing not so little Nicole.
Never little, no.
Younger Nicole on the sunglasses stand doing. It's such a cool story to think about how you joined the dots between understanding what people wanted and how to present it and how to make things more visible, and how that's like the foundations of what you do today. Fantastic. Gives me hope. Actually, my daughter's very entrepreneurial and quite savvy with marketing, so
fantastic.
I'm watching your YouTube. Give us some ideas. And so you got to director at a young age. You worked your way up. Like, what were some of the challenges? Because what I understand of marketing and agency world and that kind of thing is there's a lot of women there, but not too many of them at the top.
That's right, because traditionally people on the board either have like a sales background or like a finance background, right? Not necessarily a marketing background. So one of the big challenges really was working in quite male-dominated environments, and in marketing. Even when I started at the Financial Times, I was supporting the sales teams. It was business-to-business marketing. At the time, we were marketing for the FT as an advertising medium, and then FT.com as it came about. So it's kind of learning really early on that if you want to be heard and if you want to be able to persuade people, because frankly, marketing is so highly creative and I love it. But there's many areas of marketing which are really just about managing people, managing projects, making a business case, getting buy-in for an idea from people who might not necessarily understand all the technical ins and outs. So you kind of immediately have to listen to your audience and fine-tune your language. So then being in a male-driven environment, also very much working with sales teams, it's kind of like how do you get people's buy-in when you're not their boss? How do you positively persuade and influence them? Because particularly different departments in an organization, you all want to achieve the same thing, right? You want your organizations to do better, so you have to work together. And also, how do you make it a little bit more fun? Nowadays, I very much lean into being German, being loud and proud of having a German accent. But then it was really different. I started at university, and the one thing I figured out really quickly was that I couldn't just continue being as direct and forthcoming as Germans can be. Now, clearly, this is a huge stereotype, and there's nuances of all of it. But I knew I had to kind of fit in with the British diplomatic way of saying things. You know, in Germany, if you don't like an idea, we say, nah, that's no good. In England, you most likely say, oh, let's explore it. That sounds interesting. So it's these little things I had to learn. And university was a really good playground in a way, because I was already a mature student and I knew I went to university so I could get a job at the end of it. So I worked quite hard, but I also worked in groups and I sort of fine-tuned how I was communicating. Well, at least I hope I was. And then I started our work. That journey really continued. One thing looking back, Sinead, I wish I had started sooner owning who I am, because when we lean into our little quirks and we're not ashamed of them, we come across much more confident, and confidence inspires confidence in other people, in potential clients, in stakeholders. I really wish I had learned that sooner. I did learn it really quickly when I started my business. So fitting in with different environments, learning how, you know, for example, I remember I joined one organization that had just spent a lot of money on a rebrand, but it really wasn't serving their purposes really well. So how do you get a whole board convinced that they had to spend additional money? And it really is about managing stakeholders, about making a case on an individual basis, really looking at everyone's position. What will there be objections? You know, how can you maybe present this to a finance director versus to someone who doesn't understand the digital side? So really listening to your audience. And the beauty is, these are all core principles of communications and good marketing, right? And you and I, we've both seen so much change, right? I mean, when I went to school, our computers were like massive. It was like as big as the size of a washing machine. But you have to just evolve with the times. Yet some core principles are always the same. Who's your audience for that message you need to make? How can you convince them? How can you listen to them? And really be really thoughtful with that as well. You know, don't just push your own agenda. Really care for your stakeholders and what you're trying to achieve. So yes, sometimes I feel like, having worked in a male-driven environment and having turned down the sort of girliness at the time, you know, that really was actually quite a good experience. And one thing I actually love doing, and I don't know if I told you this, but I actually had a tailor at the time. So I got these 3 suits made, not all at once, they're really expensive. But it kind of allowed me to sort of walk the shoes of this sort of male-driven environment. I had like my own power dresses kind of suits, and they made me feel amazing. You know, I still had my sort of funky colored tops, but I had like a brown suit, a blue suit, a black suit, to really just fit in, because sometimes you do have to fit in a little bit to get people on side and just to make it easier to go a little bit with the currency. But yes, so making sure that you feel great. I think whenever there's a situation where you need to step up in visibility, whether it's like, you know, sharing your opinion in a meeting or speaking at a conference, make sure when you turn up, you feel comfortable, you feel amazing. If that means you need a new suit, so be it, get it.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I always think, you know, sometimes we have to play the game to be able to change it, you know, so you do the thing that you need to do to get to the place, and then you change it for everybody else coming behind you.
I love that. And that is so true, isn't it? Because when you do that, you can guide people who work with you. And this is always one of the things I found really rewarding about being a manager. You can really nurture talent. And I love doing that. And that's probably why I went into coaching with agencies, because it's so nice when you see what someone is struggling with and then actually helping them to break through these barriers. And Sinead, you know, I've always had coaches and mentors along my journey. And this is the one thing, like looking back at my corporate career, that probably really helped me to get to marketing director level so quickly, is I always arranged for either informal mentors or for paid for coaches. And I always aimed really high. You know, I had to, when I joined the Financial Times, I wanted to move straight away into a marketing department. And so I asked through my director to get the director of marketing to be my mentor. And it really helped. Wow. And I did a similar move at the Institute of Directors. And I always aimed really high, because sometimes you just have to ask. And I know asking can be really uncomfortable, but it's so worth doing it, because, you know, when you put your hand up, you take on challenging projects, but you also ask for support and you make sure the right people know about it. That's really good for career progression. And you've got to kind of manage that yourself. No one else is going to do that for you. Yes. So thank you to all the coaches and mentors for really always helping me. And even nowadays, you know, I have a coach. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and there's so many things that I agree with there. Like the fact that nobody else is going to do it for you. It's your career. You have to take control of it. And also listening to you talking about investing in yourself
Mm.
and doing it for yourself, because I know as women quite often we can be reluctant uh, to spend the money or to value ourselves enough
Yeah.
or to see, that it's okay to be that ambitious. I want to get to here, and I'm going to do the things that fast track me to get there.
Yeah, do you know, I couldn't agree more. One of the things which really drove me is that I looked around me and there was so many people, of men actually, who just because they were that much louder, they were that more comfortable giving a presentation, their career progressed much faster. And it was a little bit frustrating because the German way of thinking, and I think it's very much the Dutch way of thinking. I just spoke to one of my clients earlier today. Is, well, you do the job and that should be good enough. But it's just not how it works, whether you're at senior level or whether you're an agency owner trying to attract better clients. You've got to build connections and you've got to have that confidence to talk about what makes you different, what makes you that little bit better. So for me, a little bit was also frustration because I didn't want all these guys to get all the top jobs just because I wasn't brave enough. And, I'm the kind of person, and I still, you know this about me, I still get really nervous about things. And sometimes I even have sleepless nights. And obviously being perimenopausal, that really doesn't help at all. But I now lean into these nerves. I've come to realize that, okay, if I'm really nervous, it means I really care about it. So let's just work with it. And okay, so what if it's a sleepless night? Once you've done it, you feel so much more amazing. And I know when I was much younger, I would tell my mates about it. Well, I'm going to request this promotion and I'm going to send that email and I'm going to have that meeting. And because you have that accountability, I didn't want to let my friends down. I didn't want to say, I'm going to do this or complain about not being promoted and then not doing it. So I'm sharing these stories because I feel reflect on what makes you take bigger steps.
Yeah, I love that. And it's you said a German thing, but it's not just a German thing. It's certainly a European thing. I see it with my clients in the UK and across Ireland, but also like I have clients across Europe and the US, and it is a common mistake that my work will speak for itself.
Yeah.
And maybe when there was a lot less people in work and a lot less distractions, it could have done. But when you think of all the stuff that's coming at people today,
Yeah.
nobody has time to
Right.
pay attention to what you're doing. I mean, the thing I see with clients is they'll only notice when things aren't going right, and so so it's up to you to shout about it and
It's true.
highlight it.
You have to advocate yourself, right? It's the same that
Yeah.
as a parent, you have to champion your kids no matter what. It's the same in your career. I remember as a marketing director, I would always think about, okay, so a lot of the things we do is quite invisible because marketing is not just about the big billboards and the advertising campaigns. So what can we do to demonstrate what we've achieved? So one of the simple things we did was just writing a newsletter or ensuring that we attended the meetings of all our key stakeholders and that we were always available to give an update. So really think about, even in your own career, what can you do to let more of the right people know how amazing you are? And surely that is about creating some of these water cooler moments, sometimes volunteering for projects which, could be challenging, but could really help you to demonstrate your skills and maybe making some of these new connections. So really be quite strategic about it. And it's okay to be strategic and ambitious. Just because we are women, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be ambitious and competitive and strategic. Because actually, we innately care for people and be very nurturing. So if we get more of the top positions, then we can share all the goodness. So yeah, I'm really happy that I've always been so ambitious in a way, and I've asked for promotions. And I've also always had really good relationships with my bosses, because the one thing I did learn really, really early on, if I helped to make my boss look good and my department, that would really benefit my own career. So actually, that's part of the reasons why I called my company also Wunderstars, because it's making shining the light on someone. and making them feel like a star. That is a good thing, surely. So yes, little behind the story there, behind the scenes story.
And we'll get a bit more into that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, that visibility is everything. And you talked about the water cooler moment, which we still have, but with hybrid working and working from home makes it harder. And we're going to get into how LinkedIn can really help you with that. Well, there's one thing you threw in there about being perimenopausal, and I know that that's a challenge that faces a lot of women in the workplace, and how to deal with that. And obviously we run our own businesses, so we're not immune from the challenges. So what have been your experiences in that? And how have you helped yourself?
Sinead, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of everyone in my network, because you did this beautiful TED Talk, and I shared it with my personal friends, with my business friends, with my agency owner network, because it is so relevant to everyone. We need to avoid that talent drain. So I just, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for doing such an amazing job for it. And I hope everyone who watches today and watches the replay will check out Sinead's TED Talk, because it really is amazing. You will laugh, cry, you will share it with your friends. It is really that good. Yes. So,
thank you.
No, it really means a lot. I can actually say that in an open forum, because you already know behind the scenes how much I adore that talk and how many changes I've made as a result of it. And I've seen other women for the first time ever admitting publicly that, yes, I'm perimenopausal, I'm menopausal, because you've given us this confidence. And you made us realize how important it is that we sometimes talk about it, so that other people can also see what they can do about it. Yes, so the dreaded perimenopause. Wow. you know me as a pretty energetic person, right? And that's always been my modus operandum. And energetic. I just come energetic at the right time of the day, and if I have slept well. But clearly, when you're perimenopausal,
caveats.
At 47, I know even my enthusiasm and energy is a very valuable resource. So perimenopause is dreadful, because suddenly you feel like you've woken up and you don't know the person any longer who you're seeing in the mirror, and you doubt absolutely everything you want to do. If I said I was nervous beforehand, now I was not only nervous, but I really didn't think I could do it. It was just self-doubt and low energy and low mood. So I knew I had to do something, because, you said we both run our businesses. We are both coaches. We have teams around us, but it's us who people are buying into. So I got some help. I'm now a proud HRT sister, and I made some lifestyle changes. I really, for a while, really sort of made sure that I managed my working hours, that I have a good balance of seeing friends, seeing the right friends, seeing people who fill me with energy, because that's the other thing, is you kind of realize that everyone wants a piece of you, but who are you always willing to give it to? And you need to make sure that you yourself are on top of that list. So there's not a one size fits all solutions, but there's certain things, we can do. And I feel very privileged that I can take HRT. I know sometimes when people have cancer history, that's much harder. So at least I know my hormones are taken care of. So yes, I think talking about it and not ignoring it, because it can really run you down. And also realizing that it's a life stage, and yes, make some changes, because your health is your wealth. And I really believe it is, because, often as women, we're the center of our families. I know, like, when we're running departments, we're running companies, we see our teams as extended family. So it doesn't stop by the time we get home. So just make sure that if you're a very giving person, that you still manage to claw back some time for yourself. Personally, I'm a fan of Pilates. I ride my scooter every day. I try to eat relatively healthy most of the times. And also, I just make sure I have some downtime, just me somewhere alone, no one talking to me. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and talking to you on a regular basis really, really helps me as well, because you always encourage me to make time for myself, because then I will show up better for everyone else in my life.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Nicole. When you were talking earlier, you got me thinking about, I've coached a lot of marketing leaders, so CMOs and marketing directors and that kind of thing. But I've coached people to get to that stage, and where there was no such thing as a marketing director in their business or a CMO. And something I've learned from leaders in that field is how brilliant you are at strategy. Like, I think so I remember coaching one person, and the department was viewed as the colouring in department.
Yes, I've heard it. It's so true.
and we had to really work to shift perspective and get taken seriously, and to help the others in the leadership team see the value and the impact of what you do. So have you any tips around that to help people value what you're
Do you know,
I knew you would. This is the bread and butter of your business.
Do you know, this bit is going to sound a little bit harsh. If you recognise you in one of these places where it is the colouring in department and just purely seen as a cost, then maybe it's time to move, because sometimes that feels like pushing water up a hill. And you deserve to be appreciated in your company, in your role. So when you interview for senior positions, it absolutely works both ways, right? They're lucky to get you. So walk in them with that attitude as well. So that was one thing. Now, obviously, this doesn't help someone who wants to stay at a company. So then I
agree with all of
but we've got to see the other side as well, because sometimes there's circumstances. I know sometimes I got stuck into jobs because I was waiting for the next promotion, or maybe I knew I'm pregnant and this wasn't the right time to move. I was one of those who hid that she was pregnant until 5 months, and it was really showing, but we won't go into that. So when you're there, I guess this is then about finding your allies. Is that the right word?
Allies.
Thank you, Sinead. There's certain words I always still get wrong. Allies. So really, who could be allies supporting you? Who could give you that strength? Who could be people who tell you about things which maybe are not officially noticed in the board papers, but are the kind of conversations? Because knowledge is key, isn't it? And knowing where the organization is going, what conversations are happening. So have some allies around your company, support each other, because that's the thing we often underutilize. There's people who would like you to support us. If not, you're really in the wrong organization. Get out, there's other opportunities, I promise. Or even, I remember I actually asked for coaching in those situations as well. And really helpful to get someone external perspective and maybe giving you some coping strategies. Do you know, one of these critical moments in my career, one of the best exercises my coach made me do was the wheel of life. And it's just made me realize at the time that my priorities were actually really wrong for where I wanted to head. I remember I wanted to become a mum, but all I was thinking about my next career move and which conference I was going to go to and what project I could achieve. So get some guidance from external experts as well, because sometimes it's just the way you're presenting yourself. I remember a long time ago, I was going into these conversations with our CEO, and my body language just went like this. I don't know if viewers can pick this up. I'm crouching my shoulders, I'm looking down, and I'm not even making eye contact. And just being aware of that allowed me to go looking more confident into my next meeting. So sometimes, what signals are you sending out? How can you equip yourself to be the best at a specific meeting? I remember when you then have your allies, you can look into different strategies. Okay, what is this department likely to query about this? What do they need to see? And just go through different scenarios. Now, of course, they're not going to completely happen like that, but you're prepared. You know how to handle it. It's a little bit like preparing yourself on an interview, right? What are the craziest questions they could ask me, like a job interview? How can I show what I know about the company? How can I show that I'll be a great asset? So really just prepare yourself. And I know that's a very German thing, Sinead, you and I, we always have a giggle, like how our different styles of doing things. So if you want to prepare the morning and that works for you, just do it. But just find your way of having access to absolutely everything you need to know. And when you don't know something, it's also okay to say that, no one expects you to be perfect, but have the confidence to, hey, do you know what, let's circle back to this and move on. So there's lots of little communication strategies you can use. And just know it's uncomfortable for everyone at first. And the more you do it, the easier it will get in a way.
Lovely. We're going to delve into LinkedIn now. But one of the things I was thinking about just before we get into that, I keep teasing them about some LinkedIn strategies, is one thing I really admire about you and that you've done fantastically well is build your visibility through speaking. And I know you started this in your corporate life and you do it brilliantly.
Thank you.
In terms of your business. So what are some of the tips you could give us on getting out there and being seen?
Yeah, do you know, just like you, I just want to pitch for it as well how worth it is, because when you're on a stage, you position yourself exactly where you should be, because you wouldn't be looking for speaking opportunities if you're not an expert on something. So definitely do it, and just know no one wants you to fail. Don't picture the audience naked. That has never worked for me, ever. Ever. Whether it's a gorgeous audience or slightly not gorgeous, it doesn't work. But just no one wants you to fail. So I would say, it's always good to aim for these growth opportunities. And yes, it's painful. Like my first paid speaking gig after I think I had a child again. I only had one child, so that came out wrong. I had sleepless nights for 6 months. I'm not kidding you. I was paid to speak at the Cambridge Social Media Day, and I was so excited about it. And I was the second speaker. The first speaker, someone we both know, Andrew and Pete. They're very energetic and very entertaining on stage. And I was up after them, and I was like the second most important speaker, so to say. So I wanted to do really well, because my contact Lenka, who organised the event, I wanted to do a really good job for her. So yeah, 6 months of sleepless nights. But but one thing I would say, think about how you can own that stage, whether that's at the next board meeting, whether it's when there's a team meeting, or you are speaking at a conference. What can you share that makes you a little bit memorable and different? What will connect with the audience? Because no one wants data non-stop, all of it. Be brave, share some of your stories. And this was actually the time then I thought, okay, so I've got Andrew and Pete. They're very entertaining speakers. Anyone who hasn't seen them, just watch any of the videos where they'll have you in stitches and you will learn. So I decided actually to bring up a story from my upbringing. And actually, I had this crazy way of explaining how David Hasselhoff in the 80s was amazing at marketing, because he did all the things and he really wanted Eastern Germans to fall in love with him, and we did. And I still talk about, we sort of write a love letter to your customers nowadays. So just think about what could be a bit different. And it just opened my eyes that people want to have stories which connect. And I think this is why your Breaking Barriers interviews are so powerful, because you don't just talk about it. You have people on there who've gone through these things, and they openly share their experiences, they share their stories. And hopefully, if we just inspire one audience member, right, we will have done our job. So think about strategically, how can you own that stage? And whether that's real stage, at a meeting, or at LinkedIn, what makes you a little bit different? So yes, go for these opportunities. Don't expect everyone to say yes straight away. Do your research. What can you bring to their audience? Why you, not anyone else? Start with smaller opportunities. I remember when I wanted to get back into it, I did 3 LinkedIn masterclasses at a local college to a range of media students who really didn't want to learn about LinkedIn. So doing that 3 times, the same talk, made me realize, yeah, I could do this better and better every time I do it. So find smaller opportunities and then work your way up. But then also, when the big opportunities come along, maybe you're at an event and you're next to someone who organizes another event. Take advantage of them. Don't let opportunities like this pass. Connect on a human level, then make your pitch and then follow up. And it really does work. And it's so worthwhile doing it, because you get one opportunity, you get other opportunities. And it's the same if you're like, you're a marketing director, or your comms director, or you're an HR director. If you volunteer to speak up at a conference, then maybe the next time you will be invited to an even bigger conference. So it's all about making that first ask and believing that you can do it. And honestly, my 6 months quickly went down to 3 months. Now it's probably more like 2 weeks. There's a certain level of grumpiness hanging around me. My husband always says when I'm nervous, so but he can put up with it. It's okay, we manage. But just realize everyone is nervous, and just think about all the benefits of doing it. And yes, as you rightly said so earlier, I've been invited to speak in Mexico. I think really exclusive agency owner retreat is called Carbon Press, and it's an event I've been eyeing up for years. So when you put in the work and you put yourself out there, the reward will follow. And whether it's a career opportunity or whether it's maybe a book deal for some people, whatever it is you're after, being on stage and being visibly seen to share your expertise and your stories and to connecting with people makes a huge difference. So it's really worth facing that fear, definitely.
Love it, love it. And of course, that's what LinkedIn is about for us as well. So, it's a stage, a world stage that you're able to get in front of so many more people and put yourself out there. And I know, like, the people that follow me, well, we're on LinkedIn, so I'm assuming they're using it at some level. But there can be a nervousness, a bit like the agencies you work with. Even though they work in the marketing world, there can be a nervousness and fear about it. So, what can we do to overcome that fear, and how can we use LinkedIn to propel us, to shine the light, to help us be the star of our own careers?
Absolutely. Yeah, I look back and I wish I'd conquered my LinkedIn nerves earlier on, because when I started in my career, LinkedIn really was just that recruitment platform. You just put your CV on it and you never touched it. And then as I progressed in my career, I hired agencies to come up with our strategy for our company. And I just remember the first time I ever had to post something myself. Sinead, I didn't want to do it. It was really, really scary. So I wanted to share this so openly, because everyone has got these LinkedIn nerves. Whether it's thinking, oh my God, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Maybe I don't want to be found out, or I don't want to seem as boastful. What will my colleagues think? What will my peers think of me? Will I be judged? What if I post something and it goes all wrong? So own that. Everyone feels it. I haven't met a person who, when they got started, didn't feel this. Think of the last time you really made a big mistake, or you were afraid of making a big mistake. I remember for me, at the Financial Times, I was responsible for signing off ad copy, which would go on ginormous billboards, and it would have been really expensive, or maybe signing off emails, which went to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subscribers. So a mistake back then would have been really bad. Really bad. fairly, I was nervous. But nowadays, you make a mistake on LinkedIn, you can edit it, or you even delete it. But our brain still puts us in the same space of, oh my God, something really bad is gonna happen, so I'm not gonna do anything, nothing, and it's spammy anyway. So it's just reminding your brain that it's just really fact-based, it's just a fear. And I know, Sinead, you give a lot of advice on dealing with imposter syndrome, because I think imposter syndrome is really, really big. Then also just have a look around on LinkedIn, because I think LinkedIn has done such an amazing job, and I'm a little bit biased. I was chosen amongst 30,000 people for the first UK LinkedIn Content Accelerator program, so I did like a coaching program with them. Thank you. And they've made it such a learning platform and such a sociable platform. I mean, you can just see it by, hopefully we're getting some lovely reactions on our LinkedIn Live. We have a smiley on there, we have a love, a support, a celebrate button. Those are all social interactions. So the platform is encouraging us to have a dialogue, to talk to people. And I think maybe this is like the biggest mind shift you can make when you're really worried about it. Just see it as a networking event. And if you feel, oh God, networking events, and I know sometimes I feel like this when it's getting too much, I'm feeling perimenopausal, I'm more introverted, just aim to have 1 or 2 good conversations. And it's the same on LinkedIn. Don't aim straight away to have a viral post. Who wants a viral post? It's not about numbers. It's about the quality of connections. So think about, let's say, if you're a senior leader, the last time you had a chat with maybe your finance director, or your chairwoman, or whoever it was, what did you talk about? What elements can you strip out of that conversation and you could share on LinkedIn as in, hey, face the challenge, some of the learnings, what do you think? I know I'm grossly oversimplifying, but the key principle behind it is, picture this one person you're writing a post for, or buddy up with someone, show, I know, Sinead, you and I, and I'm sure you don't mind admitting it, we sometimes run each other's ideas by each other. Hey, does that make sense? What do you think? How can I make this more engaging? So buddy up with someone, or do a course, or get a coach like me. Think about what usually helps you to become better at something. And it might be a combination of all of these things. Okay, so first thing is, LinkedIn is not boring any longer. It's very sociable. Really think about, why are you doing this? Sinead, I shared this post and just to promote this live, and I said to people, well, it's a platform for you to actually share your expertise to someone younger and inspire them. It could open a new opportunity. You could make a new connection. You could catch up with someone who you used to be in touch with years ago. It is something so special when you stay in touch with people, and often we lose touch because we are so busy. So why not just start on LinkedIn with reaching out to some of your original contacts, see what they're doing now, because chances are if they find out what you're doing now, where you want to go in your career, you might be able to help each other. And then the final thing I'm going to say, so we talked a little bit about dealing with that fear. The final thing I'm going to say, which really stops overthinking, is actually to have a bit of a plan. Who do you want to speak to on LinkedIn? What's your reason behind it? Who already is talking about those topics? Who has the ear of the community you're interested in? Follow them, learn from them. Start gently by engaging with comments and then build it up. Have a plan with some goals. Maybe don't start off saying, well, I'm going to just post every day for the next 20 years. That's not usually how you achieve things. I always think take small steps will lead to big change. It's that incremental thing. So set something really realistic and sustainable for you. And have some fun with it. Have some fun with it. That's my biggest message. You will see me, okay, it suits my branding, but you'll see me sometimes have an in-joke with some people who comment, because that's what I would do in a lot.
That your stories are really fun as well, and engaging, and then there's a point to them, and we see a lot more of that on LinkedIn now. I think that you can share a story. I mean, we talked about one this week that you haven't yet posted, but about going personal shopping and how that can that story and that experience can actually be connected back to what you do, and that's available to any of us to do that. And that's what people love to see, is learn a little bit about you. And then, it has some resonance with what they do as well, and creates that connection and conversation.
And, just to add to that, so on the corporate side, just look at what can you do in terms of your picture, your tagline, so the text you use under your picture, to tell people what you do. Don't just have your standard job title in there. But maybe also, as Sinead just said, add a little talking point. It could be that maybe you're a marathon runner, or you like baking, or you like gardening. So yes, put in your job responsibilities at your title, but also have a talking point. And then the space, which is your about section, which is another great marketing asset on LinkedIn. Own that. Show the contributions you've made, how you've helped your companies. Show also who you are, your personality. What do you like to do outside of work? Because people, particularly headhunters, they're looking for what makes that person a bit different. What has that person achieved? So if you are working for corporate and you are looking for that next move, really look at your LinkedIn profile and consider, does this make myself look in the best possible light? What could I do just to bring up my personality, to show off my contributions? Because particularly as women, we're always being brought up by saying, we did this, we did this, we did this. Now, what did you do? And I'm sure there's lots of things you have made as an individual contribution. And if you struggle to do that yourself, either get some help or do it with a friend. There's bound to be someone in your network who might also want to progress. And I've recently done this where I actually helped a friend. She was facing a bit of restructuring, and she's just said, Nicole, I just want to feel a bit more comfortable with my LinkedIn profile. I said, don't worry, buy me a drink. As it happens to be, this is what I help people with. But we just made some small tweaks, a new photo, a new tagline. We got her to sign up to some groups she was interested in. She asked for some recommendations. So there's lots of small things you can do to make sure your LinkedIn profile is easier found and gives a better impression. So don't be afraid of just working on that step by step. And the biggest thing people always say to me, but Nicole, will not everyone notice? No. Because
I think an alarm goes off to tell the world, oh my goodness, Nicole's changed her profile.
And you can set it up. It's automatically set up, but no one gets a notification. But just check it out again, your settings. No one will know. No one watches you that closely other than yourself. I think this is actually a really good thing to sort of hone into. You know, we always think everyone is going to notice absolutely every single step we take. They're not. Find your way, make those changes, it will be fine.
Yeah. And like I've had clients who've got headhunted, who've got amazing mentors through
Yeah,
people that they would never have thought to connect with before, but just by reaching out and having those conversations
yeah,
in the DMs and being brave to make that ask. And yeah, I think people always I hear them go, oh, but I need to change so much of my profile. And there's the first mental hurdle. Whereas
yeah,
actually just a great photo and a great tagline, and do put something personal into it, because it
absolutely.
is the conversation starter. It helps you connect with people, and you're good to go.
Right, absolutely. Because do you know, I think this is always when we're worried about something, we make it out into this big thing. I do this all the time, and then I just take the first step. I usually, for me, it's like, okay, Nicole, you won't have your first copy on the day of the day unless you do this, and that's usually gets me going. Make a commitment to your friend. Everyone finds it uncomfortable updating their LinkedIn profile, and unless you, like me, where you work on social media all the time. I know we have lots of amazing LinkedIn trainers out there. This is our job, right? But if it's not for you, you're going to feel uncomfortable about it. It's one of these things. But once you start, and even if it's just a new photo, then maybe the next time you could update some items in your experience section. Maybe the next time you could reach out to some people and ask them for a recommendation. And as Sinead said, use the DMs to create that connection and then go in with an ask. I think this is one of the big things I really learned in my career. It's all about people, whether you're working in companies or you're working in your own business or you're going for speaking gigs. If you're yourself and you take a genuine human interest and you're true to your values, that will come across. It shows. So don't turn up with a version of yourself you aren't. Just be yourself, at least the best version of yourself, to be fair.
Yeah. You can leave the other one until you really know each other.
Yes. That's
Oh,
it.
well, we could talk all day, and we do know this because we have managed to talk for full days together. Uh, so, but have you got one last maybe gem before
Mhm.
we say goodbye?
Yes. So your LinkedIn profile is one of your best possible marketing assets. And it's such a huge part of your digital footprint. Just go onto Google and see what comes up first. So what an opportunity to take ownership of it and to make yourself shine on that stage just by making some of these small changes Sinead and I have discussed earlier. So guys, do it, tag us in. We want to see it.
Yes, tag us, follow Nicole. You'll learn so much from her posts, and you'll be entertained, and you will see David Hasselhoff there at some point. I would not doubt that someday we do the live video.
And he turns up.
But thank you so much for sharing your fun, your tips, and all of the great stuff, Nicole. It's been a joy to have you. Mwah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sinead.